Very interesting. With the new integration of the metal gate, riders are starting to choose tires that don't correspond with the conditions just so that they can get off the gate well. And in RJ's favor, it actually backfired on him. These riders are choosing this MX-14, which is a sand tire, and in Impala, it's slippery, dry, and hard, and if they cut it real deep, which they did in the first couple motos, it's a little slippery, which may work, but at the end of the day, it becomes potholy and curby and very, very dry and blue groove. So this is an interesting take on, I don't understand why you would choose this tire. Even more interesting is factory Yamaha Star Racing. You've got Cooper over here, which if I was the Dunlop guys, I wouldn't be too happy about. You're taking like an MX 34, I think, because of these little triangles here, and he's literally had his mechanic use a tire cutting tool and actually cut down the knobbies to try to turn it into a MX-14. Onto some creative lines. You've got Tom Viall at the top of the hill coming down. You can see as he starts his descent, he's actually going to accelerate and jump off one of the braking bumps to get over even more bumps. It's a beautiful technique that I want to see other riders, especially in the amateurs, if you're one of those guys out there, start thinking about braking as an opportunity to jump over some of the deeper braking bumps, because it's easier on your hands, it's easier on your body, and you're not going to get as bad an arm pump if you can stay fluid. Just raw. If we back up 20 feet and move to the 450s, you can see Cooper Webb at the top of the hill actually cut the track. Here are the corner markers, and a lot of riders were doing this because it's already dry and hard pack here, but those corner markers are there for a reason, so you're not cutting the track. And you can see him just go to the inside. It's a creative line to just cut out from this super, super deep rut. Later in Moto 2s, this guy was actually removed, so it didn't seem as if they were cutting the track anymore. But honestly, I really like that line. Look at how smooth that line. You've got Aaron Plessinger on his outside. You can just see the bike moving up and down, and Cooper is just nice and smooth, can sit down, relax, while AP is using a lot of energy going through all the holes and the choppiness of the main rut there. At the front of the track, in the later part of Moto 2, you've got Hunter Lawrence keeping his feet on the pegs in a rut, which you would have never thought somebody would be holding their feet on those pegs. Look at that. Look at how that could easily snag his ankle and twist it around, and potentially you could break your ankle, you could dislocate your knee, your patella, you could tear your ACL. It's just amazing that these guys have such confidence and fluidity and one with the motorcycle that they know, I don't need to stick my leg out. I'm just going to sit here and haul ass. And it's not even something that you go slow where you're just raw. It's more of these guys are attacking this stuff WFO with 110% intent. And this is him charging for third place at the end of Moto 1. And if we just back up, we can see him fighting with, ironically, a different Pro Circuit Kawasaki, Rider D, and there's two things going on here. Rider D is trying to cover his line, and he ends up just getting out of the way, which what he does is he wheelies over that giant rut, which is difficult to do. These riders have to be confident in order to do something like this, because it could rebound the ass end and throw you into a tang slapper. So Rider D is wheeling over to get out of Hunter's way. That's just Hunter being confident, and Rider D a little bit lack of confidence, not trying to push the issue there, and because the pass was already made here in at least Rider D's head. But if we focus our attention onto Hunter Lawrence, notice he's even on the inside there, and he's not sticking his inside leg out. You could see he lifted his knee briefly, but also pay attention to him weighting that outside peg and his ass in on that side of the seat there. But his feet are relatively on the foot peg. He just lifted it just enough to get clearance of that foot peg, which I just thought was just incredible bike control. If we transition to his brother Jett, who delivered on his expectations of pretty much having a perfect day, watch as he comes into one of the deepest ruts on the track and he doesn't stick his inside leg out. Watch as he's just rolling through the corner and that foot peg should be folding. It's hitting the dirt. He is able to squeeze the bike enough and just coast through the corner and not actually stick his leg out until he's out and he's ready to accelerate. Boom. In one seamless motion, he sits down, sticks out his inside leg, which the majority of riders would already be sitting down with their leg extended here. So this is just noteworthy to see that he is not getting his inside foot ripped off and having anything happen to his knee whatsoever. No foot dab, no nothing. It is spectacular. And he's even further creative as he accelerates towards the area that we were previously talking at. He's using these acceleration bumps as a launch ramp to double to just stay fluid. And if we continue with that creative lines, well, we've got Deegan in the 250 class where this ended up being Jett's main line, where Sexton ended up going wide here into the rollers, where Jett would actually go to the inside and double. And Deegan on the 250 was one of the only guys that was able to make this happen just because you don't have a lot of room to accelerate. Like a real line would probably be come out here or outside in to try to get enough momentum. But Deegan's able to do it on the inside with staying real close to the inside track markers and still be able to accelerate and wheelie and make a double into the rollers. Boom, and is able to pass a couple riders in doing so. It's actually incredibly creative. Speaking of getting creative, if you want to get the jump on your competition, make sure you shop puremoto.com. You'll search over 1.4 million items in stock and 207 local retailers. They've got an integrated parts finder. If you're looking for something specific, like maybe pod knee braces, I really like the pods because they work really well and they're fairly inexpensive for the pair. You could find it locally or you could have it shipped to your house. If you don't want to wait to have it shipped, you could use their integrated retail search engine and find the nearest shop closest to you. You can give them a call, you can get it ordered, or if you have some drive time, you can make sure you go and pick one up locally. Make sure you shop puremoto.com. Volan, he's had a rough few years in professional rankings, and he was one of the only riders that I saw do this. He actually has been having a good transition from the end of Supercross, and he's had a good performance in the first couple motos and motocross, so I hope it continues because the 250 class is more stacked than the 450 class. But towards the front of the track, working their way towards the finish line, a lot of riders were going to the inside, and there's this little dip into a checkup bump, which is supposed to slow the riders down. Volan actually wheelies into it. Raw, boom. And then it just bounced him out towards the outside, which I honestly thought soaked it up, and it was quick. He was the only rider I saw do this. Raw, boom, at least on live television. The line was really to slow down and roll and make the inside, where we saw Hunter keeping his feet on the pegs. Jett and Sexton had a battle the entire second moto where they really didn't have a gap over 3 seconds for the whole 35 minutes. And Sexton, I really thought this was his prime passing point if he was to get close, because Jett was going outside and Sexton was being creative, finding a new line to stay out of the big, gnarly, deep rut. You can see him already transition, turning the wheel out of his front so that he can go up the inside. I really thought that was a clever line, just trying to find a part of the track that's not slippery. And again, that's why I can't believe these guys were running sand tires when this is hard pack. These riders were so far gone, they were doing things that other riders weren't, and they were following each other. So Sexton was able to learn from Jett on some of the creative lines that he had. This is after the rollers and before the man-made uphill. We can see Jett jumping off of a braking bump to literally almost make a double out of the small roller into the corner. And he barely clips his rear wheel, but then watch Sexton. He immediately picked up on it, and he's able to do the same jump over the braking bump raw, and he actually makes it a little bit more smooth than Jett does. And if you've made it this far, I want to say congratulations and thank you. A lot of you guys are hitting that subscribe button, the notification icon. I do appreciate it. So, in closing, we've got Jett, who had the perfect round. It'd be crazy if he ends up having a perfect season, but watch how fast he comes into this corner. And again, the theme of this track was jumping over some braking bumps, and notice how he just keeps his momentum up and he wheelies over some of the bigger bumps going into this right-hander, and he actually wheelies into the face of this berm and ends up keeping his speed up. It just, what he was doing on the bike and on the track, it had me baffled is the right word to use, because I couldn't believe that you could go this fast, and he looked as if he was riding at 80%, really not making many mistakes, where his teammate looked like he was doing everything he could to keep him in sight. But just coming off this large tabletop, just accelerating, then wheeling over some of these braking bumps into the berm and then squaring it up, it's poetry in motion. That is it for Creative Lines. I appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you tune in because we've got more stuff planned for this week, or I do. Until next time, keep it WFO. Barra da 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 wah.